Finally, that took longer than needed. Now I'll make sure he pays for it too. But now I need to prepare for outside. There, that should work for going outside. Need to find out what's going on. It's been too quiet.
I'm sorry. Not much left of me. I'm sorry. I forgot. The power source isn't in me anymore. I don't have much power left. But I think we should merge again. So we can prepare for him this time.
I get it. We definitely should. And welcome back. Oh, certainly wasn't kidding when he said it was going to be draining. Oh, hello everyone. Yes, movie this week. Oh right, yes. War of the Gargantuas, which I have doubled with Rodan. Obviously, the story at large first, yes. While I rest a bit. Oddly enough, in the Japanese and much less in the American version, War of the Gargantuas is actually a direct sequel from Frankenstein Conquers the World. Even recreating some of the scenes from the first film with new costumes and the new actors to try and hone in that fact that this is a sequel. And both versions also bringing up Frankenstein, the hand that was removed when Frankenstein escaped, and also the fact that, due to being a Frankenstein's monster, that the cells themselves, much like the heart of Frankenstein before, could possibly regenerate and grow into a new creature. Which, although they don't really say it in this film, my interpretation is that the new way of regenerating is what caused Frankenstein to become the Brown Gargantua, and still possess the memories of the original. We open up the movie on a stormy night on a boat, to which a man is attacked by the octopus that came from the alternate ending of Frankenstein Conquers the World. Hence more hints that this is a sequel as well. The octopus is then soon attacked by a Gargantua, the green one. The Gargantua essentially attacks and kills the octopus, then goes after the boat, ravaging it and finally sinking it. Apparently only one of the crew members ever escaped from the entire incident. The others were, in the words of the actual fishermen, eaten alive by the green Gargantua. Many other incidents in the sea continue to happen until the military as well as other military aiding forces are called in to help find out what the hell is going on. To which, more sightings of the green Gargantua finally result in the fact that one of the Gargantuas is still alive. That there's another giant monster that sort of resembles Frankenstein from the previous film. However, during investigations, we bring in the original heroes, supposedly from last time, even though they have new actors, and have them try to investigate and find out what's going on with this new giant monster, because it apparently is not acting at all like the Frankenstein monster from before. While they have to admit that there are some similarities, the way it acts and behaves itself is completely different from the previous monster. But also they hear reports of another monster up in the mountains that's apparently brown. While a lot of people discuss it as just fluff or kids tripping out on drugs, the scientists who originally had Frankenstein's monster actually do go out there and investigate themselves. They do eventually finally get in contact with the brown Gargantua, mostly through it actually coming out of the clear blue sky and defending its green smaller brother. By the way, the guy who's playing the green Gargantua is the same suit actor as Godzilla until the 70s. And the brown Gargantua is one of his usual friends in arms with Suitmation and would appear in a couple of other Toho giant monster films alongside him. The brown Gargantua saves both the lead female as well as the green Gargantua. However, the brown Gargantua finally does figure out what his green brother has been doing, and why he persuaded humans to attack him is because he's been actually attacking and eating humans himself. Which is something the brown Gargantua really doesn't see eye to eye with with the green Gargantua, and feels that this is extremely wrong and actually starts to attack him. They chase each other off into Tokyo, where the battle ensues even further into the biggest cavalcade of effects shots ever. Excellent fight, and you must see to find out what all happens and see it for yourself. Getting better, getting better. But yes, story. The story is kind of simple, to be honest. Usual giant monster affair, although it's nice to have the monster come out early in the film. And it's also nice to have the little twist of having a second monster. Not something unfamiliar with Toho, but not to the extent of Gargantua did it. I mean, Rodan, yeah, there was a secret that there was two Rodans, but they were in cahoots. This one, however, there's two of the same monster from very different backgrounds, and although it does seem that they might be aiding each other at the start, they soon find there's way too much differences, and they start to duke it out. And while I will agree that more often than not, Toho seems to have this problem of trying to make the human parts of the film work while still giving us the action sequences with the monsters that we love. And I mean, it can range from a really good semi-spy / super science story all the way to some mismatched piece of junk that really doesn't cohere with the rest of the narrative with the giant monsters at all. To the point, in fact, that more often than not, the humans will have nothing to do with the actual main point of what we want to try and actually focus on, which is the giant monsters and why are they duking it out and why are they doing this. And why have they awoken yet again? Is also another very common question, which doesn't always get answered because they're being silly. This movie, however, we do have some decent characters, and while they could be considered cliché, they aren't, like, badly done or anything. They're just the usual scientists, the aides, the military people, so on and so forth. But while we do get these clichés, they are done very well, and you actually do feel for the characters, more or less. Especially the main two scientists. The two of them just seem to be like very overly concerned parents about this monster that they kind of sort of did raise for a short while, and have still been friends with, even though it ran off on them. And apparently, when they finally get in contact with the monster, it seems to feel the same back. That it is essentially their child, but it's their extremely huge child. It realizes that with its size, it has a lot of strength, and kind of generally can't mesh with normal human society, and tries to steer clear away from it. Whereas opposed to his green brother, who thinks that society and all humanity is essentially a nice, delicious, snacky treat. But at the same time, you got the adults, if you will, the concerned humans, are doing their best to try and protect what they realize is not only a good creature, but also someone that feels the concern back and are trying to protect it, as well as continue science as they also would reiterate throughout the English cut. So while the story isn't huge and the characters are kind of generic, they are doable. They are good for what they are, and you don't expect too much out of a giant monster movie, especially from the 60s. So what you get is at least representative of a decent version of what you expect from a giant monster film at the time. Not totally outstanding, but not extremely bad or boring either. So with that done, we move on to the effects and camera work. A lot of the camera work I kind of noticed. I actually noticed this quite a bit now that I've seen enough of these. They did quite a bit of low angles, and they did a lot of far away shots, because Toho, after the first couple of movies, started to realize that there's a lot of people in the crowd that are just smiling and laughing, which, when you have something as traumatic as a giant beast of unknown power trampling your city, the last thing people should be doing is smiling. So they have learned artistic ways to get around this in case they do get the smiles and the giggles for whatever stupid reason. And you also get a number of from-behind shots, which even Matt honestly felt, even as a kid, that that's kind of a point-of-view shot from the monster, isn't it? He's kind of noticing those little humans. Look at them run. Ha ha ha. Yes. Also, they were experimenting with blue screen during the last Frankenstein movie. This one, they still haven't quite perfected it yet, but they are getting darn close to it. It is almost spot on. They are very close to perfecting this style and getting this down pat. There's maybe, I can count on my hand, maybe 4 or 5 times where it failed, but there was maybe like a slight line silhouette on 1 or 2 soldiers, and that's usually about the worst it got. Otherwise, there's a bunch of long-range shots where you can see people moving through a scene, and you can also see what's happening with the monster in the background at the same time. And there was no telling where the live-action below ended and where the effect of the giant monster in the background started. That is a sign of some massive quality, especially in the 1960s. They were mastering this thing, and they were getting it down pat before they did another Godzilla film. And also with this, we got the new weapon. Yes, with the story, they actually do develop the idea of actually making weapons to help get rid of the monsters, which they would occasionally do, but not to the extent of this one. Essentially, they have these, like, laser cannons, if you will, but the lasers are more or less like lightning bolts. But the point is that they have a new weapon, and they are trying it out for the first time, and actually they had to, on the stands that these things are on, they actually had to tilt it so that the lights that they had at the head when it turned on and shot a beam would actually light up. Otherwise, the lights at a certain angle, which they originally planned for, would not work at all. So I believe one of the things they did is they tilted it so that the tanks are actually resting like this. But also, I think also the heads of the things were kind of made disjointed slightly too in order to allow it to work as well. So even technical difficulties back then, they had to find new ways of getting around it. And these new lightning tanks, definitely a keeper, and they would definitely reuse them a couple more times throughout the 60s and 70s. And I think they also still borrowed a few cues from it for a few other weapons later on throughout the Godzilla franchise. Also, I would add that while we're talking about the Godzilla franchise, they're not entirely sure where Frankenstein Conquers the World and War of the Gargantuas takes place in the Godzilla franchise. But rumor has it that it has definitely been included as part of the timeline since about the Millennium run of the franchise. So, since Godzilla 2000, it's definitely been a part of the franchise, and the Green Gargantua has appeared in describing past events with giant monsters up till this point. So it is maybe not part of the modern run of Godzilla, but is part of the past that is included in the modern run of Godzilla up to this point. As to whether or not this next Godzilla is going to actually be a sequel or a reboot, we have yet to see, but I'm pretty afraid that it's going to probably be a reboot, and why another one? Anyway, another topic for another time. War of the Gargantuas is pretty damn good. The fight between the monsters is really awesome. The fact that the military actually comes up with something that actually fucking works is almost a godsend in the franchise at this point. Actually having them be able to do something competently and efficiently is also a nice little touch. The fact that the humans are actually a necessary part of the story and that they help push for events to further themselves as they go on through the movie. Just in general, it's a pretty damn impressive movie for not being part of the actual Godzilla franchise until recent years. It's a part of the 2-pack with Rodan, released by Classic Media. Try to look up anything else on this. Oh yes, it also has the some extras on here. The big one is bringing Godzilla down to size, which we do get to see the 3 main suit actors for Godzilla actually together for the first time. The 60s till 70s Godzilla, the 80s and 90s Godzilla, and the Millennium Godzilla, all 3 suit actors together. And actually, I think the Millennium Godzilla suit actor hit it on the head that they kind of look like family. And they act kind of like family. It's just seeing them walking the streets together was awesome. And it's worth it just for the extras alone, much less the excellent movies that both Rodan and War of the Gargantuas are. And I can't believe I'm being giddy over this. I'm a fucking villain. But then again, City Destruction. Yes, I can get behind that, yeah. But, yeah, I think that about covers all our bases.
What the hell?
Ha ha ha, yes, Matt. You forgot about the force field, didn't you? Luckily, the other mouse remembered it too, just in case, because we're going to be drained a bit from merging back together again. And I do think it is time we have at it, Matt. Don't you agree?
I knew this would get overcomplicated. There. I'll see you there.
Damn coward, come back here. That's the way you want it, Matt, then so be it. Fine then, Matt. I'll meet you there.
You do realize this is a trap, right?
Yes, I know.
So why are you still going?
Because one way or another, this ends now.
Brutal. I like it.
I figured you would. So you ready for this?
I will enjoy.
Now the future's come